Hello and welcome to That Wise Old Dude Conversations with Rob. No hat today. Can you spot that? No hat. Anywho, I love that. It's from Modern Family. I think it was the character Phil who used to say it. He was always saying, Anywho, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, today I want to ask the question and discuss with you, are there any such thing as psychics and psychic mediums and paranormal and ghosts and spirits and all that sort of stuff? And can people speak to them? So let's dive in with this. I do believe in super intuition. I believe that I have super intuition. And that's been, you know, crafted out, if you like, in my sort of 56 years of studying people. And I also put some of it down to my Romany gypsy genes. I've got Romany ancestors, and my nan told me that her nan was a queen of the gypsies, and my sister's done our family tree, and we've found Romany people in on her side of the family, and the Romany people who originate actually from India. They were driven out. They are renowned for their clairvoyance and their clairaudience and their claircognizance. And they're very good at telling you stuff about your future or about your past or about you or a situation you're going through. And I became interested in, astrology and palmistry and tarot in my teens. And one of the things that got me into it was when I was with my nan. I was about 12 years old, I think, 12 or 13. And my nan and pop had come down. I lived in Cornwall. And we went to this fair in a little town called Helston called Flora Day. It's brilliant. It's where they all dance through the streets and everything. It's a really big thing in Cornwall. And there was a gypsy there, a man called Gypsy Akora. And I'll never forget because it was a chilly May day. It's always held on sort of May the 8th. And I was linking my arms with my nan. She had her hands in her pockets and she was walking past this gypsy's caravan who was reading palms, and he was taking a break. And he said to my nan, he went, "Hey, you," he went, "come here, come here." And so we walked over to him. She went, and he went, "You've got bloody problems with your hands, you have. You've got problems with your hands. I'll tell you what you need to do. Go up to a field, put them in some cow dung, massage it all in, leave it for an hour, and it will be gone." And I remember my nan saying to him, "How do you know that?" And she had her hands in her pockets and she had gloves on. Crowds and crowds of people, thousands of people there, hundreds walking past his caravan. And I remember him just leaning against the caravan and just telling her that from nowhere. And later on in my early 20s, I went to see him and he gave me a reading, and told me that I'd live abroad. And he told me that when I did, I'd be able to look out of the window and spit and it would go into water. He described the woman I was about to meet, and all sorts of things, that I'd become an author and all this sort of stuff. And I think to myself, well, how did he know that? And he didn't get dead people speaking to him. It was just literally clairvoyance. He was reading my hand. I went back and saw him later. My mum went to see him many years ago, and I remember she told me that he said to her that, "I see you living on a small island," he said, "and when you look out the window, there'll be no trees. It'll just be sort of flat hills." And she ended up moving to Stornoway. And anyway, I really dived into especially palmistry and tarot cards, and I dabbled in numerology once as well. And I was doing it for a living, and I've restarted it back up. And let me get something absolutely clear here. I'm not. I don't class myself as a psychic. I don't class myself, definitely not, as a medium. I don't have dead people talking to me, and a lot of it is, I think, is pure psychology, and and psychology recognizes that people can read people. It's called empathy accuracy. It's the ability to be able to read the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and probably even the intentions of other people. And it's something I'm very, very good at doing. Another reason why I can do it, apart from my 56 years of studying people, is that when I was growing up, I had 11 years of daily psychological and physical abuse. So I had to read the emotions and intentions and body language and facial expressions of those people who were looking after me, because anything that you did would, a certain punishment would be dealt out depending on how they were feeling, etc. So I was always watching people, and so that gave me a really, really good framework. I'm really happy and proud that I was in that upbringing, because it's given me these uncanny skills. And so, to give you a few examples, and I'm just setting the scene here because I want you to just think about whether or not they exist. Because when I had a practice in Birmingham, and I never forget this, I'll give you two examples. This one lady came to see me, and it was really amazing. It was winter, and she had a coat on. She had her hands in her pockets as well. And as she was walking across the room to see me, she was smiling. And before she could even sit down, I said to her, "Why are you here?" And she said, "What?" And I said, Why have you taken your marriage ring off? Why are you even here? You don't even believe in this sort of stuff." And she was like, "Oh my gosh." She said, how do you know that? How do you know that? She said, I remember her flying her hands out of her pockets, and she said, I've still got gloves on. My hands are in my pockets. How did you know I've got my ring off? And I said to her, "Duh, you've come to see a psychic, haven't you?" And anyway, she went on to say that she one of her friends had recommended me because I've been so accurate, and that I would convince her and change her mind that psychics existed. And then I had the case of another chap who came in at, he was about 34 years old, and he came in, and I had a quick chat with him, and he turned his hands over, and straight away I said to him, I said, "You're not going to die. Whoever's told you that is purely mistaken." I said, "But there is a huge change coming in your life." I said, "You're probably going to be moving right onto the other side of the world, like something like Australia." And I looked up, and he was crying. He was crying, and he'd been told by a seaside fortune teller that he had a broken lifeline, and it meant he was, going to die at 35. And he said, "That's all I need to know." He said, "I don't need to know anything else." He said, "How you knew that, and how you knew to say that immediately, I don't know." So, what gives you that ability? Intuition, sixth sense, psychic ability, clairvoyance, clairaudience. I know with myself, when I used to give people, or when I'm giving people readings, I'd just get words, and pictures would just fly into my head, and it was like dominoes. And I'd just have to say whatever came into my head. I just had to say it. And if I didn't, then the other stuff wouldn't follow through. But a lot of that, take the woman with the who took the marriage ring off. I don't put that down to a psychic ability. What I put that down to is my ability to read people. So even though she was walking towards me with a big smile on her face, there was something about her face, there must have been, that told my unconscious mind that face that you're recognizing there is a face of deception, and she wants to deceive you. So then my unconscious mind, this all happens in a split second, has said, right, well, what's the best way for for this female to try and deceive me is probably take a marriage ring off. So I just blurted it out, and it just so happened that was true. And then when I was at the Napoleon Hill International Convention, and I was talking to this, we were all having dinner. I did a talk there. I was really privileged. It was a great honour and a dream come true. Napoleon Hill is the granddaddy of all self-improvement, right? And anyway, I digress. But this woman was an astrologer, and she was talking about astrology. That was her talk at the time. And we sat down. I said, "Oh," I said, "I know a little bit about astrology." And she said, "Do you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You're a Cancerian." I said, "You've got an Aries rising sign, and I think your moon is in Pisces." And she went white. She went, as true as I sit here in front of you now, she went white. Why? Because that was her that was her astrological chart. And she was shocked that I knew. And she said, "How do you know that?" She said, "I only find all those things out when I've done somebody's chart." She said, how do you know that? And I said, "I don't know." I said, "But I just know." And I've always been like that. I've been able to do that. My brother also, God rest his soul, my brother also was very intuitive. But he was a very, very good astrologer as well. And he made some fantastic predictions for people, including myself, you know. So I think that was passed down in our DNA from our Romany genes. And my sister, God rest her soul, she was also very sort of spiritual and into that sort of stuff. The only one I can't get my head round, by the way, is I can't get my head round the mediums. And I'm sorry if any of you are watching this. I don't mean to discredit you, but I just can't get my head round that there's a dead person there talking to you, you know, and they can tell you apparent details of stuff, but can't tell you the name. You know, I can't get my head round that one. I'm sorry, but what does science say about all this? Well, of course, science says none of this actually exists. You know, I think a lot of it with me as well is the power of your unconscious mind. I've learned to tap into mine, and you know, I think that's a part of it. I think that I get a connection with people. Very good at rummaging around in people's heads, and my friends used to hate me. But science says none of it exists. You know, mediumship is nonsense, clairvoyance is nonsense, psychics are nonsense. And there's a magician, I don't know if he's still alive, I think he is, but there's a magician in America called James Randi who he put $1 million in a safe, and he tried to get people to come along and prove that they were psychic under scientific conditions. And the $1 million has been there about 28 years. No one's claimed it yet because nobody can prove that they're psychic under his certain scientific conditions. Now, it's the same with me. You know, I don't know things about world events. I don't know things about people who aren't in my energy orbit. I don't know who's going to win the next election or any lottery numbers or anything like that. Although I do know what numbers can be lucky for you, and which ones can be fortunate for you. So you know, science says nothing exists, but then you know, there's no ghosts, there's no paranormal, there's no sixth sense. You know, even though some of the, I believe some of the you know, NASA organisations have dabbled in it and stuff, remote viewing and all that sort of stuff. But then when you look at science, you know, I was looking up, I Googled something about the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, just last week. And I came across this article, right? It was really fascinating, by the New Scientist, and it was from 2010. And good SEOing, right, on the first page of Google. But what that was saying, it was saying that the unconscious mind was just really a dumb companion to the brain, a dumb companion to the conscious mind. And then right below that, in 2015, just 5 years difference, there's this great article by I think it was Psychology Today or the American or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, it was saying about all the stuff they've found in the last 3 years about things that the unconscious mind can do, what it knows, and how it works things out, and how it controls, 80-90% of your decision making and behavior. But the point I'm making is that science just 5 years, that small gap, right? That small gap had a complete 180-degree turn on the powers of the subconscious mind. So, I saw a ghost when I was 18. It was really, really frightening. It was awful. It was awful. And the feeling I got when I saw the ghost was awful. And I never want to see another one, not even of one of my loved ones, because I'm really squeamish when it comes to stuff like that. But so anyway, yeah, I do believe it. I believe in super intuition. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a great book called Blink about how people just know stuff without any conscious reasoning. And I think if you've done something for a long time, you get to know that as well. And for me, I just know people. I've always just known people. I'm able to climb into them. I've never been surprised by anybody's actions yet. When someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, do you know so and so? Did you know that they got caught doing this, or they did that, or they did the other?" And everyone's like, "Oh my God, really? They did that?" I've not had that feeling, because I'm never shocked or surprised when people come into my orbit. As soon as I shake their hand, I sort of know their character. And it's really great. And, I love it. I love the fact that I can do it. Sometimes it was a burden, and people used to ask me, tell me what you know about me, and I'd go in a room and I'd hold the hand, and oh my gosh, I'd tell them that I told one woman that she'd been abused by an uncle when she was 7 years old. She'd never told anybody in her life. She was 30 years old or 32 years old. Never told anybody in her life. Pulled her hand away from me. But I stopped doing that because next time I was with that group of people, they don't want to look at me. Everyone's talking to me like this because they feel like I'm looking into the soul or reading the mind or whatever. So, and I can never switch it off. I can turn it up and down, but I can never ever switch it off. I can just spot things. And it's a great, great gift. And, so you can make your own mind up. I don't care what you believe, it's up to you. But scientists certainly don't believe in it. I know that Richard Dawkins, in his book The God Delusion, wrote that he said, because he doesn't believe in God, right? Or any form of religion or magic or psychic ability or coincidence, nothing. And he actually said in his book The God Delusion, he said, if I saw somebody performing a miracle right before my eyes, he said, I wouldn't believe it. So that's amazing, isn't it? So, I can't think, that everything, that you hear about or read about concerning people's intuition and whatever is, or sixth sense or psychic ability is wrong, Even Darren Brown, who goes around trying to debunk scientists by doing, NLP and psychological tricks and whatever. Even he has had scientists stood there, and when he's read somebody and the scientist has said, everything else is done can be explained, it's science, but what he's just done now is not science. So I'm certainly a believer, apart from the medium side of things. I can't quite get my head around that one, but Anywho, trust your gut feeling. Trust. I suppose that's my point really to this video. It's gone on 20 minutes now, but is trust your gut feelings, trust your intuition, open up to it. It'll always be right. It'll never let you down. Your unconscious mind, it knows your past, present, and your future. Tap into its powers. It's really, really, really immense. So that's that wise old dude being a little bit esoteric today, but I hope you found it quite fascinating. Maybe I'll tell you what, in my next video, I'll share with you briefly the story of where my ability of reading people literally saved my life, what I believe. So, or should I tell you that now? 2043. Do you want to hear it now? Okay, I'll tell you. It's 1976, the really hot summer, and I was hitchhiking to see my girlfriend, and a car pulled up alongside me, offered me a lift. It was a boiling hot day. Nobody was there. Everyone was at the beach. Not many cars passing. So I ran up to this car, and the woman answered, smiling, really, really nice. And she said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Mullion. And Mullion Cove, beautiful place. And she said, get in. She said, we've got some drinks in the back of the car as well. And I said, okay, never forget. She had blonde hair, down shoulder length blonde hair. I was just about to get in. I was leant down at the car window, and the driver just poked his head round, and he said, yeah, you must be very hot. And he had a big smile on his face. You must be very hot, get in. Whoa, my alarm bells went off. Something about that man's face just did not sit right. I turned round, I said, no, thank you, and I ran back the way I'd been walking. I ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran. Went up, I remember this house, it's country lanes, right? There was this house up the country lane. I ran up there and banged on the door. And I just told the woman that I was only like 14, nearly 15. And I told the woman I was really, really thirsty. She saw me sweating. It was boiling hot. There was a drought that year. And she gave me a really nice big glass of lemonade and put some ice in it for me. And then she gave me a lift home. She felt sorry for me. But anyway, about a year later, I read about a boy in Devon that had been murdered. And I read about it in the paper, and he'd been found in a ditch, I think. And I think it was Devon anyway. I'm not too sure. I know it was in the southwest. And they were looking for a car and a couple, a man and a woman in this car. And I swear on my life that the description of the couple and the description of the car was the same car that had stopped to pick me up. So I think if I'd got in the back of that car, I think the same fate may well have, struck me. So, trust your intuition, your gut feelings. You have many millions of neurotransmitters going down into your gut feelings. So your mind and your brain, your unconscious mind is sending messages into your gut. That's why you can listen to a gut feeling. So I hope you found this interesting anyway, and hope you'll go to my site, That Wise Old Dude, if you want some glimpses into your potential or into your future, or an answer using my wisdom and my knowledge of people and my life experiences. I've bundled it all together. So if you've got a pressing issue or a problem or something like that, you want my intuition to help you find a solution, then go on, have a look and book an appointment with me. This is the longest video I've done, but this is Rob. This is That Wise Old Dude saying thanks for watching if you're still here. And unlike my last video, which the clicker didn't work, I'm hoping this one will now switch off. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak again soon. Bye-bye.